My name is Malinsky. I work with the Centre for Social Innovation in Toronto, Canada. The Centre for Social Innovation provides shared workspace for social entrepreneurs. We've got 3 sites, almost 6,000, 7,000 square meters, and we try to create an incubator, a community center, a learning hub that tries to advance social enterprise and social innovation in Toronto. We discovered the hub in 2005 after our doors had been open for a year, and it looks as though we kind of opened up around the same time. But the hub went very broad. Their goal was to create a global network, which was a very admirable and necessary advance. For us, we were really interested in going deep, in serving the city of Toronto and trying to expand our capacity to really facilitate social change in our city. So one of the favorite projects of ours that I like to talk about is a project called Jane's Walk. And Jane's Walk is named after Jane Jacobs, who's an urban theorist who really emphasized the importance of getting to know the people in your neighborhood, getting to build connections at the community level. And so in about 2006, 2007, we started with 40 local walks in the city of Toronto, really that were about having local neighbors lead other neighbors on walks, a chance to talk about the community experience. In 4 years, that project is now in over 45 countries, 155 cities, and a perfect example of scaling in a network way this very simple seed of a social innovation idea and making it something where people across the world can use as a device to engage with their neighbors and really reinforce a sense of community. One of the challenges in Toronto and in Canada more generally is that the issue of social innovation isn't really on the agenda or on the radar of any level of government, at municipal level, provincial level, or federal level. It's starting to happen in bits and pieces, but it really seems to be happening more at the grassroots, at the level of civil society. But for me personally, that's what's most exciting, because it's really the grassroots energy, it's the work of individual entrepreneurs, small groups, that in my mind are going to create the ground and build the edifice on which the future change of our city and our country will happen. I think that there's no substitute for local knowledge, and in our experience, the fact that the principals, the board, that we're from Toronto really spoke to the fact that we had a passion, that we understood our city, and that the best thing that we could do is rather than really try to take our own experiences and extrapolate that into other cities, we could really try to harness our own energy, our own familiarity, and make change on a local basis. I think it's important for us in Toronto to really kind of break out of our own patterns and our own frames of thinking. So an opportunity to come and leave the city, especially North America being a bit of an island disconnected from Europe, where there is a lot of greater integration, the opportunity to come and to learn and to access all of the different networks and resources that are here, it's really about strengthening our practice, sharing a little bit about what we do, but taking lessons and connections back home with us so we can improve the work that we're doing in Toronto. I hope one day that we can host a summer school in Toronto, Canada. I think it would be absolutely delightful. Nothing's been held yet in North or South America. And in Toronto, I kind of have mixed feelings myself in terms of how things are going, but I really feel that there is a nexus there, a starting point for social innovation, and a sixth gathering would really create an opportunity for us to drive some energy, some investment, some enthusiasm, and really demonstrate not only what we've achieved, but at a local level, build our capacity to achieve even more in the coming years. Networks are absolutely fundamental. The ability for us to build, strengthen, and relate to people in a network way is really an essential way of operating at this time and moving forward. And too often what we do is we keep these old lenses, these old tools, and these old frameworks built from a prior age. We try to apply them to networks. And we haven't quite figured out, we don't really have a mastery over networks to understand how do we really surface ideas, how do we support the members of networks, and how do we really actualize the potential that networks promise. So I think that the network retains an essential quality, whether it's 50 years ago, today, or 100 years in the future. A network is always operating in the same way. What seems to be changing is our ability as humans, socially, to understand the qualities of the network and to really activate and access the powers that are inherent in a network. And that's part of the learning journey that I think we're all on right now, is we know networks are important, but we haven't quite figured out how do we really activate that potential? How do we really maximize what a network can do and lead us somewhere into a brighter future? The key with networks is to understand that they're not like typical institutions. Networks are comprised of autonomous actors, individuals that are pursuing their own self-interest. What we try to do is we expect the network to act in a certain way or to do a certain thing, But a really effective network structure doesn't try to impose those types of limitations or constraints on the behavior of its members. What we're trying to understand now with networks is that they are variable, that the right thing to do is to really open up, to free people within networks to pursue their own interests, and that the most effective networks are really enabling individuals, organizations that are part of those networks to achieve success without imposing on them any very difficult constraints or limitations. And so we have to adopt a set of network practices that activate these natural kind of characteristics of variability, of adaptability, of evolution, which are the essence, the DNA of a network. I think we first discovered SIX a few years ago, so it was after San Sebastian, and we learned that there was a global network being formed. We had been following the work of the Young Foundation, and from that time we just basically reached out and expressed a lot of interest in somehow plugging into the resources, the networks, and the events that are happening as part of the SIX network. So we're based in Toronto, Canada, and at some points it can be isolating because we only know our local networks and resources. SIX is vitally important. This is the one network that's actually trying to build bridges. It's really important for us to be part of SIX because that way we get connected to a global community of social innovation thinkers and practitioners.